Patrick Findaro here, co-founder at Vetted Biz and Visa Franchise. Today I want to talk a little bit about the pros and cons of buying a business or buying a franchise. So first, buying a business. The great thing is that you have the financials. You can see how much money they're making, how that breakdown is, what are the different revenue sources, what's recurring revenue, what are one-off customer relationships, and what expenses you could potentially lower as the new owner. There are a lot of benefits in terms of the information you have for that currently operating business. And you can really de-risk a lot of the chances of having continued business success based on there's a business that's had some customers for 5, 10, 15 years. Those customers drop off at 5%, and you can do those calculations and really understand what's the risk of this business, how can I expand upon this business, and you have that data. Now on the cons, that information you receive could be false. They could be overstipulating their sales information. They could be having a lot of employees that maybe are getting paid cash and you only find that out during the final due diligence. And a lot of people are running businesses not in a professional manner throughout the United States. And that's especially true for businesses for sale under $500,000. Whereas opposed to being sold on a multiple of EBITDA, essentially net profit, they will be sold on owner's compensation. So what's the owner making in salary? Dividends? Is the owner's wife getting money from the business? The healthcare insurance that helps the owner's family. The company car. There can be a lot of different expenses that are not going to be run through a professionally managed business, but a business for sale, especially in the less than $500,000 range, you're going to have to do a lot of work with an accountant to really understand how much is the owner making at the end of the day. And then also with buying a business, they can be pretty expensive. So depending on the business, it can be anywhere from 2 to 4 to 5 times the owner's compensation. To give you perspective, for a few different industries too, like real estate property management, insurance, accounting, businesses that have a stable book of clients that you're just expanding upon, they don't even trade on a multiple of owner's compensation or EBITDA, net profit. They're trading on a multiple revenue. So it could be 1 to 1.5 times revenue that it's going to cost you to buy that existing business. One huge benefit though, it's easier to finance. Right now, Small Business Administration loans, SBA loans, are at some of the lowest rates they've ever been, 5%. And you can finance a business acquisition over a 5 to 10 year period, and you're paying a 5% interest rate. And with a business acquisition, as opposed to a franchise, you can fund it with as little as 15% cash down. So a business that say is $1 million, you put $150,000 down, $850,000 government loan, and if you're a green card holder or U.S. citizen, you are eligible for the SBA loan program. With a franchise though, that same $1 million franchise, if you're opening up from zero and it's not already operational, generally you're gonna have to put 30% down. So you're gonna have to invest $300,000 and get a $700,000 loan, still at 5%, but you're gonna have to invest double the amount of cash if you're gonna go the franchise route for financing. And that's again with a new franchise, not buying an existing franchise. The last con I can think of for buying an existing business, usually the owners want to sell for a reason. So it could be they want to retire, they're moving. Regardless, they're probably not going to stay on so long for seller's training. The business seller isn't going to be wanting to stay for much more than 6 months. And even 6 months is a big ask. For buying a franchise, there's a lot of benefits in terms of there's the historics, not just for that one location, but for hundreds, if not thousands, of franchise locations. They've made a lot of mistakes. they're constantly trying to re-improve the business model, and it can be a lot more scalable than an existing business where you might be really tied to one location and you're really not sure how it's going to be opening up a second location. Where a franchise, there's been another 100, 500, 1,000 people that have already opened that second location, already opened that third location, and know how to scale up with having a regional manager. And the playbook's there. You got to follow the playbook, and you should be successful in the right franchise system. So a lot of initial and ongoing support from the franchisor makes it quite attractive to go the franchise route. And there's a lot of cons though. There are costs associated with opening it. Franchise fees can vary, but we see anywhere 20 to 50,000 plus to have the franchise agreement, where for a 10-year period you have the exclusive brands, often brand rights oftentimes, or territory, training for yourself or your manager, and all these other pros that go with having a franchise, but they go at a cost. And then also there's the ongoing fees, which can really range 4 or 5% up to 15%, depending if it's like an accounting franchise, which is actually doing a lot of the bookkeeping for you, and you're more focused on sales and client service. Cons, another, the time it takes to open up the business. So with buying that existing business, hopefully if you buy the right business and you hired an accountant and did a very good due diligence, you know that you should be making cash from day one, and you don't have to worry about when you're going to break even. But it's basically once you take over that business, you can be taking out dividends, or maybe wait a few months and start taking dividends out from the business. For a franchise, it could take 6 months, 12 months, even more to make that break even point where you can start bringing money out of the business. And then there can be a lot of restrictions imposed by the franchisor. Depending on the type of franchise system, like if it's an education franchise, they're not going to want you teaching English in a science and math education focused franchise, for example. Or if it's a coffee franchise, they don't want you selling tea maybe, or selling your grandmother's cookies that you love and you always dreamed about selling that product to consumers. So buying a business can be amazing if you find the right business, but according to Harvard Business Review, it takes 1 to 2 years to find a business to buy. And according to a podcast from Harvard Business Review, again, HBR, it's a full-time job. 12 hours, 14 hours are not uncommon for those serious business buyers to allocate a lot of your time to find that right business to acquire. With a franchise, it can happen a lot sooner. It could happen in 3 months for you to identify the right franchise, sign the franchise agreement, and start the process of opening the location. But on the con side, it can take 1 month, 3 months, 12 months to open that franchise. So there's pros and cons to both going the franchise route or buying an existing business for sale.